In your consumer news today, the economy kept a lot of us guessing in 2025, from inflation to interest rates to layoffs that were pretty persistent through the year. So what should North Texans expect in the year ahead, the one we're in right now? We're talking with the Dallas Business Journal's editor-in-chief, Will Anderson, today to get some insight into this and a good benchmark of where things could go, especially here in North Texas. Thanks for being with us with your crystal ball today, Will.
Thanks, Jason, for having me.
You know, always a danger to pull this out, and I'm going to ask you to predict the year ahead, but I know that you know what you're talking about here. So 2025, we all know, was a tumultuous year for the economy. Do you expect things to kind of settle out a little bit now that we're in 2026, or are we looking at still some more of that?
No, I don't. I mean, if I could be so bold.
Kind of where I was thinking too.
Yeah, you're right. So there was a lot of change going on in 2025, from kind of the macro policy level to Washington to tech advancements. You know, really a lot of the AI advances we saw. But I mean, corporate America, to its credit, I think most people would say weathered it pretty well. Stock market's okay. Your 401k is probably looking, it's all right. There have been layoffs, but it's not kind of the mass layoffs. We've really seen job creation slow, but not a lot of mass firing. So I think you would say corporate America has weathered it pretty well. And nobody really went into 2025 thinking this is going to be a super easy, pretty straightforward year. So like that expectation kind of continues, and I think the business sector has largely showed that they can roll with that.
When you break it into all those buckets, you really do realize that we're probably in for kind of more of the same. The tariffs are still, kind of up in the air before the Supreme Court. We still, AI is still a thing that people don't completely know how it's going to, work through the labor market and things like that. So still a lot to watch. Interest rates, another big one there. So let's talk about some of the biggest business stories that North Texans should be kind of keeping an eye on as we go through this year. And I know that you all, have put a pin in so many of them and you keep up with them very well.
I would maybe start with something that we've talked a bit about, but bears repeating, and that's the future of downtown Dallas. It's a big weighty topic. There's a lot going on, but what I'd watch for this year is what's going to happen with the Mavs arena. Will that be downtown? That would change a lot of things. I'd watch what happens with the Dallas College campus. There could be an El Centro campus that's way bigger, thousands more students studying downtown. That would change a lot. And I'd keep an eye on what Comerica does with its downtown headquarters and whether they're gonna keep that there. AI, of course, going to be a big topic and how that plays out, especially on the workforce. We saw those Amazon layoffs, big layoffs just a couple days ago, and they didn't pin that on AI. They talked about overhiring during the pandemic, but we know AI is going to have an impact, especially in technology. And the last thing I'd watch on the economic front is migration, because the new census numbers came out and they still show that Texas did grow. The estimates are that it did grow and probably added more people than any other state, but it grew at a rate that we haven't seen in a while, in a few years. The growth slowed compared to what we've seen in the past. And we know specifically that international migration has taken a big hit. So migration has been much of the business story here in North Texas for years. It's fueled home buying, it's fueled a lot of consumer spending. If that tapers off, that changes a lot. Yeah,
does that mess with that so-called Texas miracle where the economy has been roaring and we've had these surpluses in each legislative session and all that?
Yeah, or can you see more domestic migration? Will that pick up? Lots of things are up in the air, but I think migration is something that we don't often think about as an overtly economic issue, but I'm paying close attention.
Okay, so some of the off-the-radar stuff now, though. I mean, we can have those surprises that hit us. What are some of the business stories that you think, maybe we should kind of track this over here as well because it could be a thing?
So it's hard to call it off the radar because it's the biggest building in Dallas, but Bank of America Plaza, it's kind of fallen out of the headlines because we've talked about AT&T's headquarters relocation.
Right, that sort of sucks the oxygen out of the room.
Yeah, but there's some real estate developers, Mike Koch and Mike Ablon, that want to redevelop. They want to buy and redevelop the biggest building, but they announced those plans back in 2024. And now we hear more than a year later, incentives were just approved last year, a really big incentives deal for the city of Dallas. And if they can succeed, they have to figure out now how to pull it off, buy it, transform it, and that could be a big thing for downtown.
So does that still, have legs? Since it was a while back that was discussed, we have to find out, does that still go forward?
Yeah, and they approved those incentives last fall, and now so there's time to sign the contract, figure out what's going to happen, line up the financing, but whether they can pull it off is the big story. And so I expect that will also something to be that'll happen in 26. We'll see what happens.
There is a lot to keep up with, but like I said, almost no one better than you guys to do it. So you're going to be coming back and we'll talk about some of these things as the year goes.
Thank you, Jason. Always happy to be here.
Will Anderson with the Dallas Business Journal. Thanks as always for being here, Will. And you can check them out online to read all of their coverage. They are spot on with this stuff. Appreciate it.